Baby Boomer fans, we are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River, make sure you are wide awake, and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Hello, everybody. It's a great day in Iowa, and we're assuming, Jackie, it's a great day in Washington as we record this 1950s Fun Chat. You know, I mentioned two different states that we're in, but our guest today comes from another state, which we're not in. So how can you take us to that conversation?
Well, welcome everyone to watching, and do take note of the purple banner below on your screen. www.whilethewindmillwatch.com is our website, where you'll find all sorts of wonderful information about the book, which is in the upper corner of my screen, about the authors, Janine and Jackie right here, the vendors. We have around 30 different vendors throughout the Midwest, we'll say, and the 1950s Fun Chats, all of the previous ones. This is number 198. So it's a very entertaining and educational time if you take a look at those Fun Chats. So today we're going to add some more education and hopefully entertainment to you by starting out by saying the GI Bill, officially the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, was created to help returning World War II veterans adjust to civilian life. It provided education, employment benefits, housing, and other support. So what does this have to do with our guest, who wasn't even born until 1952? Well, we'll get to that. Becky Stone was born in December 1952 in San Antonio, Texas, while her dad was stationed there in the Air Force. Thanks to the GI Bill, Becky's dad was able to attend college after he left the Air Force. He worked for Oklahoma State University Extension Service, which gave the family the opportunity to live in many areas of Oklahoma. Becky earned a Bachelor of Education from Oklahoma State University. She taught first grade for 11 years and was a reading specialist and literacy coach for 21 years. Her husband, Gary, and she raised 3 sons, Caleb, Jacob, and Nathan, who have given them 7 fantastic grandchildren. Becky and Gary live east of Shawnee, Oklahoma. So, Becky, we welcome you to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Hi, Becky.
Good morning.
Hi. So let's begin by hearing about your early 1950s memories of being raised in Oklahoma.
Well, my early memories are living in Vet Village on the campus of Oklahoma State University. It was Oklahoma A&M at that time. And they had put these kind of barrack buildings up. There were 2 floors to each unit, and it's where the veterans that were coming back and going to school on a GI Bill, most of them were married and had families, and so they would live in these dorm type houses. My dad loved animals and gardening, and we had chickens in the upstairs bedroom, little chickens.
Really?
Yes, we would lay on the bed and watch them. And he had a garden out in the commons area where he grew tomatoes. I remember painting our bedroom walls while we lived there. He made the neighbors thought it was a dog pen, but it was a pen for us, my sister and me, to play in so that we didn't get out in the street and get run over. And they just thought it was awful that my dad put us in a dog pen.
I want to go back to those chickens. Where did they lay their eggs?
Well, these were just chicks.
Okay.
And I can't remember what happened to them as they got bigger. I know we couldn't keep them there. So I think he got the chicks at a time that by the time they got big enough to need to be outside, we had moved for the summer near his parents, where he either worked in the oil field or he worked wheat harvest to earn money during the summer.
Okay.
And then we'd go back to Stillwater in the fall for him to go to school. I remember sitting on one of those vinyl sofas in the library while he studied. He would take me with him and give me a book with pictures of quail or chickens or something, and I would sit and look at the book while he studied.
So was that vinyl sofa a little sweaty on your bottom?
Yes, it was. Your legs would stick to it.
Yes, I can recall having seen a turquoise vinyl sofa that was from that era. Was this turquoise or?
This one was green.
Oh,
this one was green.
Okay.
And I remember my mama. She would stay up late. Daddy would close down the library studying at night. He had flunked out once right out of high school and went into service. That's why he went into service. When he came back, he had very good grades because he had a family to support. Sure. And Mama would stay up and have coffee waiting for him when he got home, and he would study more when he got home.
Oh, my.
And so I remember him working so hard, and he ended up completing a master's degree.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good for him.
So
yes, was that in extension or ag extension?
His bachelor's was in ag education, and his master's was in poultry.
Oh,
how about that?
Those little chicks.
What a good example! What a good example he was for you.
Yes, he was. Mm-hmm. He was an educator. He loved being teaching people things. Mm-hmm. And I think I got that from him. I was never a good babysitter. I don't like just taking care of kids, but I love teaching and seeing the lights go off in their eyes. And when they realize they've learned something or put something together in their mind.
Yes. Well, and I want to connect this too with later on, you received your BS, was it in education?
Elementary education, yes.
Okay, and then later on became a reading.
Yes, I completed a master's in reading.
Oh, okay.
While I was teaching.
Mm-hmm. What inspired you to get that master's in reading?
Well, I've always loved reading. That was, Mama would take us in the summertime. She'd take us to the library. Everybody got 2 books because that's what they would allow. Mm-hmm. And we read our own, then we read each other's. Mm-hmm. And we were back every 2 weeks. I loved reading. But then when I was teaching first grade, there was a reading specialist there at the time, but I knew she was probably not going to stay in the school system. And I thought I could do a better job than what she was doing. And so I asked my principal, I said, what do I need to do to be in position to do that if she should decide to leave? And she said, I don't know, but here's where you go.
Oh.
And it fell into place. So I felt like it was something I was meant to do.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I loved working with those students and making a difference in their scholastic ability and in their reading ability and helping them achieve a joy of reading, especially not just that they were better at reading, but that they enjoyed reading.
Mm-hmm. How with your 3 sons, how did you go about inspiring them to be great readers, if they were great readers?
Our eldest inherited all of the bad eye genes, apparently.
Oh.
And reading was difficult for him because it tired his eyes easily.
Uh-huh.
So he didn't enjoy reading that much. He does now when he has time. So my middle son loved to read. And my youngest son had a head injury when he was 3. And the doctor said, that does not make him a good reader when he does that stuff. So don't let him do it anymore. And he reads very slowly, but he remembers everything. So they've all been different, but they all read. And we made bunk beds for them when they were growing up. And Gary put lights inside the bed frame so that they could read in bed if they wanted to.
Nice.
And so they always had books at home. We
Were there certain books that you started them on in order to help inspire their interest in reading as young boys?
Well, we tried to find things that they were interested in. They loved the Hank the Cowdog books.
Mm-hmm.
That was one I remembered. We did a lot of Dr. Seuss when they were smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Scarry, they liked those when they were little. But yeah, the Hank the Cowdog books were once, and the Narnia.
Oh, yes.
Lewis, the Narnia books.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob really liked the Little House on the Prairie books too.
Okay, good. Well, I caused you to jump far ahead in your life. Now let's go back to the.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Jackie, what do you have?
Yes. Well, I will have a question about this. You and your father attended the same university, yet his graduation certificate says Oklahoma A&M, Agriculture and Mechanics, and yours reads Oklahoma State University. So please tell us why there's a difference in the name, and maybe you can go back a little bit in history, because this is we like to teach a little history here too.
Yeah. Well, and that's his master's degree says Oklahoma State University, because between the time that he left and went into service and then came back, and shortly after he finished his bachelor's, the name changed to Oklahoma State University, and they did that to reflect a broader scope of what the university was doing and what was available there, that it wasn't just an agriculture and mechanical college anymore.
Okay. Well, I did a little research, and I learned that this all took place July 1st, 1957, when it officially became Oklahoma State University. So that's why. And yours was Oklahoma State as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Becky, do you know? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, my grandmother on my mother's side got her teaching certificate at Oklahoma A&M when there was just one building there on campus. And then my dad went there. I attended OSU, and 3 of my sisters have degrees from there. My husband has a degree from there. All of my sons and 1 daughter-in-law, and now 2 grandsons all have degrees from Oklahoma State University.
There should be a building named after your family.
Do you have a lot of orange clothing?
I don't, because it's not a color that looks good on me.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Okay. So we're talking about careers, education, and I wonder what caused your father's daughters to change the trajectory of his career.
Well, when he graduated, he became a VOAG instructor at a small rural town in north central Oklahoma. And at that time, girls could not be in the FFA classes. Girls took home ec, the guys took shop and FFA and VOAG. And he had his 4th daughter was born while he was a VOAG teacher, and he was raising sheep. He did not want his daughters competing against his VOAG students. So he accepted a job with Extension, because that way we could be included in whatever he was doing, because both boys and girls could do that.
Did you, in Oklahoma, was it such that girls had to be in a girls' 4-H club and boys had to be in a boys' 4-H club, but there was not intermixing of the boys and girls in a club? I
think early on, in the very early years, it may have been that way, but it wasn't from my time. And I don't remember, my mom was in 4-H, and I don't remember her talking about it being a exclusive girls' club or boys' club.
So that, Janine, that was a good segue for my next question. So how did being in 4-H for 9 years impact your life?
Well, I learned a lot and I got to go a lot of places. It taught me a lot of life skills, taking care of animals, caring for things. My dad liked for us to know what the ideal or the standard of anything was. It didn't matter if it was canning or clothing or sheep or horses or chickens. It didn't matter what it was, but he liked us knowing what a good one was. And so we learned that. We raised sheep, we had hogs, chickens, lots of chickens, pigeons, dogs, a few horses. So there were a lot of those things. But I learned leadership skills and public speaking, which all helped with being a teacher in that, I don't mind getting up in front of somebody and talking about something that I know about or showing somebody how to do something that I know how to do. I don't mind that. And I think that's all because of 4-H. And I met my husband there, so.
Oh, good.
See a lot of places, I went to Washington, D.C. and Kansas City and
on trips, so award trips.
Yes, award trips.
Okay.
Yes.
And when your dad wanted you to understand what the standard of something was, for instance, with livestock, as you mentioned, were you on a livestock judging team, or did he teach that as an extension agent, or who went about teaching that to you?
He did, but it wasn't like he taught me at home. I learned it in a group with other 4-Hers. I went to livestock judging days. I did livestock judging, horse judging, and meat judging. I was on a meat judging team that I was on the county team that got to go compete at the state for a couple of years. So, but it was all in classes through 4-H.
Can you share with our readers what it means to be on a livestock judging team?
As a female.
Well, I will admit to dressing a little different when I was giving reasons.
And why did you give reasons?
Well, that was you place the class first. There would be 4 animals, and you would place them how you thought they should be placed. Then you had to go give oral reasons to a judge explaining why you placed the class the way you placed it. There were OSU had field days in the summertime where there was a sheep day, a beef day, and a swine day. And on some of those judging occasions, we had to predict what we thought the size of the loin was going to be, or different measurements of the carcass. We had to do a guesstimate, and that was part of the contest. I was not very good at that part. But
what would have been the purpose for that as a consumer later on in life?
Well, it to help us pick livestock that was going to do well, was going to be furnish meat and be a good thrifty, animal, and for food value. It's changed so much since my dad showed sheep, and then all through my family we have, and the changes in the style of what they're looking for in the show ring and what they expect animals to look like is so different now from what it was when I was in 4-H.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that you had raised pigeons.
Yes.
Tell us about that. That sounds like a very interesting activity.
Well, it was, we had fantails that were little pigeons that when they strut around, their tails fan out behind them like a turkey when they're strutting. We had rollers that would go up in the air, and then they tumble and flip over and over and over and do somersaults as they come down towards the ground, and then they come out of it and they fly off. We had some racing pigeons that you would take somewhere and turn them loose, and they would come back to the home, to the house. Some with feathered legs and some that didn't. And my dad enjoyed doing playing with the genetics. And with poultry, it happens faster than it does with sheep or pigs or cattle. And so he enjoyed doing that. He raised a lot of different kinds of chickens, and that was kind of his hobby when he retired, was chickens.
With the homing pigeons, is there training to that, or they just naturally know where their home is?
I'm not sure. I didn't do a whole lot with that, but I think they make sure that they know where they're at. I mean, where their home is, and they take them a short distance and let them fly in, and they gradually increase that distance until they're. Some people race them. They have clocks on the cage doors so that it clocks when they come back in.
Okay. Did you process these pigeons then and eat them, or what was the final goal with them?
No, usually if we got rid of anything, Daddy sold it. He liked trading stuff too, and going to swap meets and things. And so,
interesting.
Usually, if we had to get rid of anything, he sold it.
Yes.
Now chickens we ate, but the pigeons no.
Yes. Well, that's very interesting. I've not had any experience with that, and it'd be interesting if any of our viewers have had any experience with raising pigeons. Different kinds.
If so, comment below, please.
Yes, most definitely.
So earlier you said something about your father working as a combine summer job. Did he work for a custom combiner? And did this custom combiner move around to different farms? And then while you're there, tell us what a custom combiner does.
Well, Daddy did not go with a custom combine crew.
Okay.
He had friends. When we lived in north central Oklahoma, he had a friend that had raised wheat, and he would work for them during the summer, or he worked at the elevator unloading the wheat as it came in. Then when we moved away from that area, he would only have a 2-week vacation, and he would take that time and go work for the friend that raised wheat, and he'd be gone for 2 weeks, and that's what he'd do. One year he used some of the money he earned in that 2-week period to buy Mama a new sewing machine. Usually for something extra that the family could use or needed.
Yes. That reminds me of when you said that about he would buy that for your mother because it was an extra at the time. That reminds me of how we used to get some extras by redeeming our green stamps.
Yes.
Or did you have that in your area too?
Yes, we did too. Yes.
Do you remember what different items you might have gotten that were fun or fun to use in your family, but you probably wouldn't have purchased them at the time?
I don't remember so much what Mother got. I know I bought a new phone one time, not a cell phone by any means, but a plug-in phone.
Yes.
With green stamps. So
okay. And this would you get your green stamps from grocery stores? Or
yes, it was grocery stores as we got them. Yeah.
Did you ever have to lick those things and put them in?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wasn't that fun?
I liked it. I don't know why, but I liked it.
Well, we lost Jackie, but I think we'll get her back. But
and Jackie had asked about custom harvesting. Yes. Those crews, I know they would travel to the south and start the harvesting in the south because it ripens there faster. And
Sure.
they would move north. And usually the different crews had a route of people that they normally worked for each year. And they would go north as the wheat ripened and then come back home when it was over.
Yes, yes. Our parents used custom combiners, and originally they were from around our area in North Dakota, and then they had started the wheat harvest, had gone south and then worked their way north. But the last few years that they had custom combiners, those folks came out of Kansas, and they pulled a trailer house with them along with their combines and
yes,
and grain trucks. So that was a different way to earn a living back then.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So Becky, if you're thinking back on the 1950 influences, what do you suppose is one or two of the most influences of the 50s that have impacted you and have made a real big difference in your life?
Oh, working hard as a family, I think maybe we did a lot of things together and learning to take care of ourselves in that we entertained ourselves. We didn't go to town a lot. Made our own clothes. Mama made our clothes. She made our dog clothes. Then she taught us to sew, and we made our clothes. We didn't wear pants unless we were at home or at the, working outside or at the fair. It was dresses all the time.
Yes.
I think that is a big part of it is, we had fun together and played out in my parents did not own their own house until after I was married. They always rented, but except for a 6-week period, we were always out in the country and we ran wild. we didn't have to worry about being quiet or anything. We played in the dirt. We raised, we had baby raccoons one time that we fed on bottles.
Oh my.
We had a baby skunk.
Oh.
And they were used to, we never got sprayed or anything. And so we had a baby skunk one time, that we fed on a bottle until he was bigger, and then Daddy got rid of him. And nowadays we'd be scared to death to do that, but because of the rabies. But
right.
Yeah. But back then they just didn't know, and so we had them as pets. And seeing the agriculture around us too, in north central Oklahoma, we had the wheat around us. When we lived in south central Oklahoma, we were surrounded by alfalfa fields. So we were, except for that 6-week period when they couldn't find a house in the country to rent. We lived in town in McAllister for 6 weeks, and our chickens, the neighbors did not like our chickens because the roosters crowed when the sun came up. But we moved to the country, and the neighbor that had complained about the roosters came to Daddy and asked to buy a rooster because he had been late to work every morning since we moved because the rooster wasn't waking him up.
That's a cute story.
So,
well, I guess they're good for something, aren't they?
Yeah. Yes.
Were you ever chased by a rooster?
No, but by a goose I was.
Oh.
Yeah. Back during the 50s when we had a goose that he'd get after you, and he would chase us. One of my sisters has a knot on her leg to this day where he caught her.
Oh.
And, pinched it.
Yes. Well, they're protective. We had geese also. And I could handle those guys because Mom would always say, well, just get your neck out there and sis back at him, which I did. But those terrible roosters, they were so naughty.
Yeah.
And the chicken chores were Jackie's and my responsibility. And it was, I was so glad finally when those naughty males were gone.
I just didn't like finding snakes in the nest box.
Oh no.
We occasionally would find a snake in there eating eggs.
Oh, we never had that experience. Did you ever did the hens ever peck you when you'd go in to get their
yes.
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 Well, all these wonderful experiences that we could tell our children and grandchildren about that we had in the 50s. Becky, we're nearing our time to end, but I'm curious to know, what were your Christmases like in the 1950s?
Depending on where we lived, we might go out and chop down a cedar tree and use it for our Christmas tree, or we might. We did live out in the Panhandle for a while, and there were no trees around, so we bought trees when we lived there. A lot of homemade ornaments. My sisters and I drew names, and we still to this day draw names and would buy each other a gift. I think that was neat that we thought that was so special that we got to go to town and buy a gift for someone. Not very big or anything. And we usually got a toy that we wanted, but oftentimes we also got some kind of clothing that was something that we wanted. And it may be something that Mama made. It might be something that they bought. It just depended. One year, Barbara and I got grown-up dolls, and Mama had made a whole wardrobe for the dolls.
How special.
There was a wedding dress. There was a dress with a fancy coat that went over it. Beautiful things.
Did you sew those items when you girls were sleeping, or how did you know that was this a surprise, or did you know they were coming?
It was a surprise. She couldn't get it all done while we were asleep. So she might be sewing on it, but we didn't know what she was sewing on. We just didn't recognize it.
Sure.
So
do you still have any of those dolls with their clothing?
I think the doll is somewhere in my stuff. And I know I have saved at least, I have a slip, a half slip thing that Mama made for the doll. And I'm not sure what she's wearing, but it would be something that was made, that Mama made. It wouldn't be the dress she came in.
Yeah.
What a talent she had.
Yes. She made clothes for our Barbie dolls.
Oh, nimble fingers.
Yes.
Those little things.
Tiny dresses.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, did you have a Woolworths in your area?
Yes, we did. We had a Woolworths.
Did you go shopping there then for your sister's gifts?
Probably. And Anthony's was another one. That may be an Oklahoma store. I don't remember.
Yes.
So we always went to church at Christmas Eve, and there was a church program that we would be in. And then they would give out the bags, the little brown sacks with the orange, the apple, the nuts in the shells, and the hard candies in there. And the
so traditional
chocolate drops. Those became my favorite candy for a long time. Those chocolate drops. I love those things.
I would love to take a poll of people who grew up in the 50s who got their bag of candy and nuts with an orange or an apple and chocolate drops.
Yeah. And
yes.
Why did everybody in that central part get that candy as a gift in the brown bag?
I don't know.
Well, it was an orange and an apple were very special back then.
Yes.
It was some sort of advertising in a catalog or something.
I don't know.
Wonder how that influenced so many school districts.
Yes. Well, it's other than the fruit, nothing would spoil in there.
Yes.
Yeah. But,
And children loved candy. So did you have a nutcracker?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well,
Yes, we did have a nutcracker, and the little things that had the two little handles with the thing between it that you'd squeeze the nut in there.
yeah. And then there was the pick that
Mhm.
went with it.
Yes. Or we'd use a hammer.
Oh, yeah. We never had the hammer route. We just had the nutcracker.
We were determined to eat those nuts, whether we had a nutcracker or not.
Yes.
You know, Janine, we kept that ball peen hammer in Mom's drawer. Maybe that's what it was used for,
Oh,
along with other things.
could be.
And I still have it in my kitchen drawer.
Do you use it?
Not for nuts. Maybe I have occasionally, but you never, why go out to the garage and get a hammer when you have that little tiny one right there?
That's right. Yep, that's right. Well, Becky, one and tell us at the end here now, if you could relive the 50s, what would you do? What would you want to do again?
Oh, I think it'd be just spending time together with my family back then, and the things that we did together. We'd be outside, we gardened together, we'd be outside doing chores. I loved slopping the hogs when we had hogs. Something about that. I just enjoyed that, and being out there and being outside. We played one place at McAllister. We had pear trees on one side of the property and of the house, and walnut trees on the other. And my sisters and I would team up and play wars. And one of the pears were food and the walnuts were ammunition, and we'd barter and trade. I mean, we turned chicken houses into playhouses.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Very
Imaginary play.
Thanks, Becky. We're just so grateful that you joined us today on the 1950s Fun Chat and shared your story.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Jackie,
Thank you.
close our program.
Thanks, Becky, for joining us today, and for you viewers for joining us. And until next time, tell your friends,
and she usually says until she freezes up, and even your relatives about the 1950s Fun Chat. So until next time, bye-bye.